Good morning, Bucknutters. Welcome to the Bucknuts Morning 5 here on Wednesday, October 29th, 2025. I am Dave Biddle, very happy joined by Steve Helwagen. All right, let's get to the running game for the Buckeyes first. Can they get this rolling against this Penn State team on Saturday? Then later, I do want to ask you about some of the interesting comments from Ryan Day yesterday. He was asked directly about Jim Knowles a couple of times, and I thought his responses were very interesting. But let's start with the running game. Sometimes a wounded animal is the worst one to come across. As a wounded Penn State Nittany Lion team. But, man, I don't think they're going to be able to hang with Ohio State. Could this be the week they really get that running game going in your mind, Steve?
Well, Penn State is like 83rd in the country, I think, in run defense. So, statistics are what they are, but we are 7 or 8 games into the season. So they do hold a little bit of water because now everybody's probably played 5 high majors and 2 or 3 low majors. But so it's kind of apples to apples, or becoming more like that as we go along. But kind of like what Ryan Day always says, it's about Ohio State, and they've got to get this figured out. And you hope during the off week that they did. I think it's, as Jim Tressel said, I'm quoting all the great Ohio State coaches this week. Jim Tressel, said everything is part of everything, and that's true. I mean, it sounds silly, but
everything is part of everything. Yes,
it's the play calling. It's when you're calling these plays. It's the defense you're going against. It's all these things together that kind of multiply, I think, in these situations to where they're not having success running the football. And I think that it in some regards, it's execution by the offensive line. They're a great pass protection offensive line. Only 3 sacks allowed in 7 games is amazing. It's just there's predictability, I think, that comes into this. They in one of the Wisconsin series, they got second and third, and I just looked at whoever was sitting next to me, and I said, they're going to run the ball here. And sure enough, Bo Jackson for -1, like Wisconsin knew it was coming and stacked it. They had an extra guy in the box and, didn't allow it. So to me, I think that you got to take it all apart. You brought Tyler Bowen here from Virginia Tech, where he was the play caller. He was the offensive coordinator to be the run game coordinator. And so far, it ain't worked. And, either they're not listening to him, or what he has to say isn't working, or something. I'm trying to dive a little bit deeper than they're just not blocking the guys and the backs aren't hitting the holes, which I think that's some of it as well. But
that's his job. It's fun. The next thing on my list was Tyler Bowen. Like I want to like him, and I do. I think like he's doing a good job on the recruiting trail. He's a real good guy. Like when you talk to him, he just seems like he knows his stuff. But the product is the product. Now they've been passing the ball like against Wisconsin. I even asked Ryan Day about this last week during the bye week. When you're just carving a team up like that against Wisconsin, doing whatever you want to do in the passing game. How do you balance that with knowing you're going to need to run the ball later in the season? He gave a good response to that they want to be balanced. Of course, they want to be balanced. And he also talked about, as he did yesterday, certain plays like swing passes, short passes are basically extensions of the running game.
Yes, definitely.
But Tyler Bowen, you're right, man. He is the run game coordinator. He's not just, as you said, he's not just the offensive line coach. And even if he was, it feels like those guys – you're right. They're one of the best pass pro team lines in the country, but just they're not getting the push always. And sometimes I don't think it's the O line; it's on the running backs. We're going to get to your question about Isaiah West. You said to Ryan Day, asked Ryan Day yesterday, but yeah, I think it's a combination of things. I think the guys need to play better, but Tyler Bowen needs to figure this out. This is his job.
Yeah, I think that obviously having this extra week this past week hopefully was a chance for them to deconstruct things and really take it apart and figure out that, what's working and what isn't. And, again, they're going to be going against, tough defenses as they move along. These 5 games, they're going to be a double-digit favorite. They're a 20-point favorite against Penn State. The last time Penn State was a 20-point underdog, I asked our friend Mark Brennan from Lions 247. He said it was in 2014, which I think was the Bill O'Brien year, and they were at Wisconsin. What's that?
2014.
Yeah.
James Franklin's first year, right?
Okay, well, it was 2013 then. It
Yeah.
might have been the year before. And because Bill O'Brien was the coach, and they were at Wisconsin and they won the game outright as a 20-point underdog. We also, in 2015, not to bring up bad memories, Michigan State came in without its quarterback and beat Ohio State. So, when they were undefeated and 10-0. So it cost them Big Ten championship and the playoff. So to me, you got to be on guard against this team. And I guess what I'm saying is you're a double-digit favorite the rest of the way, but the weather is definitely turning. I mean, it's 40 degrees here in Columbus today. It's going to be 50 on Saturday for the Penn State game, but it's only going to get worse. And you got to be able to run the ball in the bad weather to move the sticks. So, yeah, they got to get it figured out. I mean, that's all there is to it. If they want to be the national champions this year, got to be able to run the ball when you want to run the ball. And that's what they're working on.
Coach Day was asked directly just about the right guard position. No players were mentioned. He just asked for his thoughts on the right guard position for the Buckeyes and how he sees that moving forward this season. Again, was not asked about Shabola by name. He was not asked about Padilla by name. He gave a response, and it wasn't a lengthy response, but he only mentioned Padilla in his response. He really talked up Padilla. But he did call him the sixth man. So I do think Tegra is going to make what will be his 24th straight start as a Buckeye. All 16 games for the national champs last year, and this will be his 8th start this year. But, man, it seems like that leash is like they got him on a really short leash, Tegra. And I think before long, Padilla is going to be the starter there. What'd you make of that? Am I reading too much into that? When he's asked about right guard and he just basically gushes about Padilla and didn't say a word about Tegra.
Yeah, the Wisconsin game was not one of his finer efforts. I think if you go back and spent time slowing that thing down frame by frame, he got blown up a few times, and his guy blew up some running plays. So he's got to do better. I mean, there's just no two ways about it. And I'm sitting there in the press box, and you know how savage some of those guys can be with their in-game critiques. And
you and I never participate in
no, we're never
joking
mean
around
like
and
that.
stuff.
Yeah, never mean like that. But we've got a contingent of young guys in there who think that they can do and say whatever they want, and they do. And they were savage toward Shabola during the course of the game, and really it didn't get much better when you took the game film back and looked at it. I mean, he's just at the snap of the ball, his guy's got penetration and is making a play in the backfield, and that can't happen. I mean, it just cannot happen, and so he's got to do better. Padilla has gotten in there and has graded out pretty well, according to Coach Day.
Yep.
So I think it's a situation where they want to continue to play Padilla some snaps, but at the same time, Shabola has the experience and has played there, and they're not giving up on him in any way, shape, or form. So I think that it's a good thing to have depth. And again, Tegra, if he wants to be everything he can be, the light bulb's got to go on for him. He's got to be a consistent force on that offensive line. He's the weak link right now, it looks like.
Yeah, and when I was doing the story yesterday, I had to make sure. I'm like, did he? I think he started all 16 games last year. I went back and he did. Obviously, he got rotated out last year too, but that was for Austin Saraveld, who didn't even start the national championship game, or really, I don't think he started at all in the CFP because they would always start Luke at left guard, Tegra at right guard, then Austin would come in and play both spots. He'd be the only one that would play both spots. He'd rotate in for both guys, end up with maybe more snaps than those guys in the game, but technically wasn't a starter. Then the very next year, Austin is a captain as a third-year sophomore. He's just locking it down at left tackle. One of the more underrated stories in college football this year is Austin Saraveld never playing tackle period before in a game, even in high school, and he was going to be the right tackle, and then they moved him to left tackle in camp, and he's not just holding it down. He's playing great. So we'll see, man. But yeah, it's good it's good knowing Tegra will be making it, if he does make the start this Saturday, which we think he will. 24 straight starts, that's a lot. So I'm starting to think this kid has all the ability, he's got the size, and he's got the experience now. Hopefully now the light will come on for him. We're only really halfway through this season. Obviously, we're more than halfway through the regular season. We're basically halfway through the entire season. All right, let's move right along. I finally, Coach Day was asked about, Jim Knowles. It'd been weird to ask him about it, not Penn State week. Asked a couple of questions about it and was very direct. Said, like any relationship, sometimes it doesn't go well. I'm paraphrasing. He said it did leave us in a bad spot when he left. We were very fortunate to get Matt Patricia. So I'm curious to get your thoughts on on Coach Day's comments. I'm leaving some stuff out as well.
Yeah, I think that he kept it, above the belt, and there's a lot of stories. There's Day's story, there's Knowles' story, and then there's whatever the real story might be. And again, publicly you don't air your dirty laundry, but what we know is that Jim Knowles apparently before the national championship game last year wanted some assurance that he'd be retained. I think that he was already under contract with Ohio State for 2025. Like he had initially signed a 3-year deal, was at the end of his 3-year deal, but had gotten a rollover or an automatic rollover or something. But yet, obviously, he felt, he was the number 3 paid assistant coach in the country last year at $2.2 million. He wanted a little bit more. And, I guess Ryan Day was of a mind that, hey, let's get through this week and let's finish this game against Notre Dame, and then we'll do it. And Knowles portrays it that Ohio State left him kind of twisted in the wind, like he didn't have a contract. Well, from everything I understood, he did have a contract. And so, the days go by and he picks up the phone and calls James Franklin and says, hey, you got an opening on your staff. I'd love to come home to Pennsylvania and coach there. And of course, James Franklin has got to be like, so you're telling me I can have the defensive coordinator of the program that has my number and we can win like they do, with great defense, sign us up, and so he brings Knowles over, and Knowles abruptly leaves, and it comes out the day of the championship celebration at Ohio Stadium, and just kind of a messy, wonky way. But he gets $3.1 million in a 3-year deal. So whoever they hire as the head coach, the athletic director has to say to him, would you at least kick the tires on this guy, Jim Knowles, and see if you want to keep him? Because either way, we got to pay him $6 million more. So they're going to be
wondering that. So there's no
spot.
So it's just like the head coach. If you're not fired for cause, so
yeah,
it's fully guaranteed.
Yeah, you would think so. So,
wow.
I mean, if he had a good agent, I would assume. I mean, he's the highest paid assistant coach in the country. So, whatever. Ryan Day's comments, I thought were about what you think they were. He was very classy about it, kept it all above board, but you could tell he said we're human, and you do take things personally. I mean, that's just human nature. Asked about the relationship, said, well, he was here, we won the national championship, and that was about it. I don't even think they talked after the word came back he was leaving for Penn State. There really wasn't much to say other than, okay, we'll box up your bleep and we'll leave it out on the street. It's kind of like,
yeah, he even said they have not talked at all, which is not a surprise, but it was interesting to hear him speak about this for the first time.
Well,
I think,
and
he's
Tom
probably
Heels,
feeling a little come on, man, I bring you here from Oklahoma State where you're making less than $1 million, and bring you here, you're making $2 million. Then we give you another raise,
multi-millionaire. Yeah.
Then we bump it up to $2.2 million. Then you're looking for a new job the week of the national championship game, having your agent go around and calling people because there was an Oklahoma smoke. And then they win the national championship. So in that respect, you're grateful. But then, how much, say did Tim Walton and James Laurinaitis and Matt Guerreri have, after that the first Oregon game? I'm hearing they had quite a bit. So Day's got to be feeling like, that it was just a gut punch. But hey, man, he had a grand slam home run. He even called it a home run yesterday. We talked about Matt Patricia. So good. Yeah. It worked out great for Ohio State. So still basket.
Yeah. I think time heals all wounds, and I hope that they catch a word with one another and shake hands on the field because, there's no point in boiling animosity. And honestly, Knowles is a man without a country right now. I mean, they could hire whoever tomorrow or probably in December, and he could blow everybody out of there, and Knowles will be looking for a job again somewhere else. So, it doesn't matter in the overall scheme of things. Ohio State has come out of it smelling like a rose, and Knowles has this lucrative contract that they've got to live up to one way or the other, and you hope that he's able to come back for reunions in 10 or 20 years or whatever, and that they can, everybody can look past it. And there's no point in dumping on people in this business, of this profession. And it makes for strange bedfellows. This thing we call college football. Shotgun marriages and weddings are set up all the time, so you never know. You can never say never, as they say.
I want to switch gears and just talk about how staggering it is and how awesome it is for all of us who like Ohio State. Ohio State is by far and away the most consistent college football program of this century, and they've done it at a high level. It's not like they're consistent like 9-3. Excuse me, I'm getting choked up just thinking about it. They're consistent like a bad year at Ohio State like this century. I'm not even joking. It's like 11-2, right? They've won 3 national championships. I feel extremely fortunate. So my first year on the beat was 2002. So let's look at this century. Like Tressel takes over. Even in 2000, Cooper's last year, at one point they were ranked 5th in the nation that year. And then Glenn Mason came in, Minnesota beat them pretty bad. But Glenn Mason's going to be the next coach. Credit to Andy Geiger. A lot of heavy hitters wanted Glenn Mason. He said, no, we're getting Tressel. So Tressel comes in, beats Michigan the first year after the 310-day speech, wins the national title the next year. So just my time on the beat alone, they've won 3 national titles. They've had one bad year. And that was because Tressel got, bamboozled. It was completely ridiculous. Luke Fickell takes over with Jim Bowman running the offense. And they finish, even that team goes to a bowl game. They finish 6-7 every other year. Well, no, I guess 04 when they were 8-5.
8-4.
8-4. Still won a bowl game and beat Michigan. And that was Troy Smith's coming out party in 04. They were underdogs at home against that Michigan team and smoked them like 37-21 or something like that. It's just incredible. And now, so Urban Meyer comes in. We know what he did. Then Day takes over for the Legend. Like, oh, geez, first-time head coach, no head coaching experience. And taking over for the Legend, how's this going to go? Bam. It's gone pretty damn well. Now, he needs to get his record against Michigan corrected, but I think he will. I wouldn't trade him for anybody. Anyway, Steve, I've jabbered on. Alabama might be like the second most consistent this century, but they weren't very good until Saban took over, and then they weren't very good last year. It's just staggering. I think it almost gets lost in the shuffle just how immensely consistent Ohio State is at an elite level.
Yeah, it's culture, and I think it's credibility from winning and in recruiting. It's continuity. He's kept the same people in the same jobs. I mean, Mickey Marotti gets them ready to play. Mark Pantoni helps recruit them. Somebody asked me if Urban Meyer went to Penn State, how would he do? And I was like, well, if you didn't have the guys behind the curtain, like the Wizard of Oz with Pantoni and Marotti, I don't think he could do very well. Right. And, he went to Jacksonville, and neither of those guys went with him, and it didn't go very well. So, to me, it's a team effort. And you brought up some of those glue type people, Guerreri, Walton, Laurinaitis, Larry Johnson, all those people. It's not just Matt Patricia. Everyone wants to put it on Matt Patricia. And he's had some great ideas and, different things, but, it's a team effort. And Carlos Loughlin, to me, has done a bang up job at running back. He's doing the best he can this year with what he's got to work with, which, is a couple young guys and a couple older guys who seem a little bit limited in what they can do. So, it is what it is. And I just look at it that, is it infallible? No. I mean, could something come along tomorrow and derail it? Yes, but it doesn't feel like that's going to happen. And it just feels like this thing's going to continue to perpetuate itself. And Ohio State is properly prepared for the future. And I think everybody who's wrapped around the axle about recruiting this year, you have to understand, I think where they're really going to do recruiting is in the portal. If they've got spots to fill, they're going to go get, maybe an all ACC player or, something like that to fill a spot if they have to. So I look at it that maybe that's where they're putting their chips right now is on that part of the aspect of the recruiting. So it only makes sense to pay proven playmakers. So yeah, I think they've got the formula, they got the recipe. They don't invite people in who aren't going to assimilate to the culture, and they're very choosy and picky about who they bring in. And that's That's how you build a winner. They're selecting, they're not blindly saying, give me the number 3 ranked guy and the number 5 ranked guy, without vetting those people. They are selecting. And that, to me, is how you perpetuate this for year after year.
It's just incredible, man. Last 24 years, 3, and I'm counting this year, 3 national championships, and counting. And then maybe they win one this year too. They are the number 1 team in the nation. They do have the best betting odds to win the national championship. So just the last 24 years, man, 3 national championships. They've had 1 losing season. And again, that was like an aberration. Second worst year again was 8-4. And every other year, they've been one of the top 5 teams in the country, right there knocking on the door. All right.
Yeah, the first two years I covered this were like 94, 95, and they went to the Citrus Bowl, I think, both years. Then they went to 2 Outback Bowls, a Gator Bowl, and an Alamo Bowl. And that's it. Like, I haven't been to a shit bowl in, but that Gator Bowl is the only one.
Yeah, that was your last shit bowl.
All the way back to the Alamo Bowl, one cruddy bowl game in 20 years. So that'll tell you right there, and Alabama played in the Citrus Bowl or whatever and got rolled last year. So, it is what it is.
This is why, Phoenix, Arizona, specifically Paradise.
Semis.
Oh my
Semis
gosh.
are what?
Oh, geez.
Phoenix
Scottsdale area.
Phoenix and Atlanta. If they win the Big Ten, they're going to the Rose Bowl. And then the semis are Phoenix. And here's the thing: if Georgia's the 4 and you're the 1, would you tell the committee up front, I want the semi in Phoenix, Arizona. I do not want the semi in Atlanta, Georgia, where I'd be playing Georgia in a home game. So if they give you that preference, that's what you tell them.
Yeah,
because Arizona would be an Ohio State home game. So there you go.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
they played several home games there.
It's crazy how many times we've been to the Fiesta Bowl, even going back to when it was at Sun Devil Stadium, which isn't even called Sun Devil Stadium anymore, but it's still, for obvious reasons, one of my favorite stadiums in the world. Then they built that big spaceship out in the middle of nowhere in Glendale. Hasn't gone as well. But, man, we've been out there so many times. The Camelback Resort where the media stays. It's gorgeous. We've also been to New Orleans a lot for Sugar Bowls. Let's do it. And this year's national championship game is Miami, right?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Get us to Miami.
Miami, Florida. Just get me to South Beach.
Get us to Miami. All right. Just get us to Miami. All right. There's a few things to take care of before then. All right. Let's get you out of here on this. So, as I said earlier, could this Penn State team be somewhat dangerous? They're coming in here with nothing to lose. This interim head coach, it seems like that was a good idea. He's a Penn State guy. He's been there for a while. He was a former good high school coach before James Franklin brought him on when James Franklin got the job. Again, nothing to lose. They looked good against Iowa. They only lost to Iowa by 1 point. Really outplayed Iowa their last time out. They're coming off a bye, but Ohio State's favored by 3 touchdowns. I mean, I tend to think Ohio State's going to roll, but could a Penn State be kind of dangerous in this one, Steve?
Yeah, this thing's going to go one of 2 ways. Penn State against Iowa was able with Katron Allen to run the football, and he had, I think, close to 130 yards, 140 yards, whatever his total was. And that's pretty uncharacteristic for Iowa to give up that kind of running total, especially when you consider that Ethan Grunkemeyer, the redshirt freshman quarterback from Olentangy High School just north of Columbus, was making his first career start. He only threw for about 90 yards, and he threw 2 interceptions. So he's going from that experience in front of 80,000 at Kinnick Stadium in Iowa, kind of the frying pan directly into the fire here in front of 105,000 on Saturday at Ohio Stadium, and against the nation's number 1 defense, which is giving up about 6 points a game right now. This is one of 2 things are going to happen. Penn State will establish the run and be in this game for 3 quarters, or Ohio State will just, as I like to say every week on the postgame show, just slam the car door on their head and not give Penn State anything and force 1 3-and-out after another, after another, after another. And it all comes down to whether or not Penn State can establish the run. Because I don't think Ethan Grunkemeyer is going to throw for more than 120, 140 yards against Ohio State. Just don't think it's possible. So that's kind of the dynamic here. If Ohio State can get out, as they have against Illinois and Wisconsin early, in the last 2 games, they got out early and really served notice in both those games that there was no way the home team was going to win those 2 games. That's what Ohio State needs. They need to take all of the will and desire out of Penn State with touchdown drives the first couple of times they touch it against a very good Penn State defense. They're down a guy, Tony Rojas, one of their linebackers, is out for the season. Unfortunate for them. Everybody knows the name Danny Dennis Sutton, I think is his name. He is the defensive end. He's a pretty good player, but otherwise, their defense has been left for dead by their offense. I mean, they have no offense to speak of. So, yeah, it just I don't know how they get 20 points against Ohio State. I really don't. And if you don't score 30 against Ohio State, you have no chance to win. So that's kind of the long and short of it. I'm either thinking 31-13 or 34-10. I can't on either side of that 20-point line. I cannot. I'm going to post my pick here later today. I'm wrestling with it, Dave. I don't know. I'm struggling. So yeah, we'll see what we come back with.
Yeah, unless something changes. I haven't looked at the line this morning, but it was at 20.5. I'm thinking Ohio State's going to win this game by 21 or more. I'm going to pick Ohio State to obviously win, but also cover. I mean, they're 6-1 against the spread this year. The one time Ohio State hasn't covered, they missed by a half point against Ohio University. As they say, good teams win, great teams cover. Even if you're not into like betting, 6-1 against the spread is incredible, and they're usually like beating the spread by a lot. So Ohio State, an absolute juggernaut this year, and I think that they're going to take it too. And don't discount the idea that Ryan Day is going to want to take it to Jim Knowles and prove a point. He's not going to go overboard with it and have starters out there because he's big on it's going to be a long season. We're not going to try and get our guys hurt by putting them in harm's way more often than they need to be. But I think there's going to be a balance there of not playing your guys too much, but still taking it to Jim Knowles and proving a point.
I caught this last week. I think the Indiana game was 56-6 with 4 minutes to go, and Mendoza is still out there throwing. He threw an interception with 4 minutes to go, and it was 56-6. I'm like, why is this cat even in?
So that wasn't his younger brother at that point.
Maybe
there was a Mendoza out there, but I think it was the freshman Mendoza.
Okay,
he wasn't there late though, because I remember thinking when it was like 40-something to 6. Fernando was still in there.
Okay.
I think he
all right.
40.
I stand corrected. I
think. Because I know Fernando was in there when he made it 49-6. Fernando Mendoza was still in the game when it was 42-6. Made it 49-6. Then they finally put in his little brother, I think.
Boy, that's Sig. He's a real hard ass, isn't he?
Yeah, he is.
He's a hard case. It's funny. One of my buddies was at the coaching clinic at Easton 10, 15 years ago, and Urban was there and Brady Hoke was there. And my buddy saw Brady Hoke in the hallway of the hotel after Urban had spoke, and Brady Hoke just shook his head. Well, he's a real hard ass, isn't he? Said
Brady
that
Hoke's
about
one of those
Urban.
guys, even though we didn't like him when he was at Michigan, he would have been a fun guy to go get a beer with.
Just a good old beer drinking. Let's have some chicken wings and get some barbecue sauce on our coaching shirt, after the game, some chicken wings and some beers. And, yeah, he would have been a good guy, to hang out with. Michigan, it's barbecue.
Fairmont. I think he went to Fairmont East, which doesn't even exist anymore. He calls him Ohio. Oh gosh, our guy Fred Flintstone would be cool to have a beer with. What's that?
Is he at San Diego State again right now? I think
I lost track.
I think he might be. They're having a good year.
He might be. Yeah, that'd be a good place to be a coach. No pressure. Living in San Diego,
living on the beach. My God,
man.
Every day it's 74 degrees and sunny. Every day. Now traffic sucks. I got to tell you, San Diego, the traffic sucks. But of course, LA it sucks too. But whatever. But yeah, what was I going to add on that? Just Urban. Oh yeah. Urban and Ed Warner and Signetti. Their piss runs hot. That's what. That's all you need to know about those three cats is their piss runs hot.
Two of them are good coaches. Warner was a good offensive line coach. It was just
easy Ed.
Once he got promoted to offensive coordinator, it's like, all right, we're done with Ed. And by the way, one more story before we let you guys go. For those who haven't heard, like Ed Warner blamed Bucknuts for him getting fired at Ohio State. Like literally, it messaged that we still have the message. He Twitter DM'd us. Ed Warner slid into our DMs when he was dismissed by Urban Meyer. By that point, was it Ryan Day? No, I think it was still Urban.
It was Urban. Yeah, it was a 31-0 Clemson game.
It was Urban.
He was out of there. Yeah,
that was Ryan Day. That's when Ryan Day came in.
had Barrett for his senior year in 2017.
And they brought in Studrawa as offensive line coach. They brought in Kevin Wilson, who was the big offensive add that year, I thought. And they brought in this other guy named Ryan Day as quarterbacks coach /
just to throw in
coordinator. But yeah, I mean, that was very interesting. There's no doubt about that. Ed Warner in the DMs blaming us for getting him fired, and then we said something back to him like, no, like.
No, Ed.
Respectful. And then he came back again and said, no, you guys, it was all of you guys getting me fired. We were like, I think not scoring against Clemson might have like been a part
Easy
of that.
Ed, come on, Easy Ed.
Come on, Easy E. Okay. All right. Now we're done.
Right.
We're done trashing Ed Warner for now.
We did the Bucknuts Morning 30, Dave. Here we go.
He did help Ohio State win a national championship as the offensive line coach. I'll always be grateful for Ed Warner for that. Just like Jim Knowles helped the Buckeyes win a national championship. All right. Great stuff, Steve. Sorry to keep you so long. All right, man. Good
Catch
stuff.
you later.
Thank you, Steve. He is Steve Helwagen. I kept him a lot longer than I intended to. Sorry about that, Steve. All right, guys. Really appreciate you guys joining me. Great stuff from Steve. One thing I didn't get to, I think we're going to see more Isaiah West. I don't think that's a big surprise the way that kid's looked. I'm still very high on Bo Jackson. I'm not one of these guys. I've heard people now just, in my opinion, going a little overboard saying Isaiah West is clearly the best back on this team. Listen, he might be, but like I still think Bo Jackson's the best. Isaiah's number 2. And that is saying a lot right there. You know, I'm glad James Peoples and CJ Donaldson are on this team. It gives them good depth, but I think we're going to see Bo Jackson start this game as he has since the Washington game. And I think we're going to see Isaiah West. If he's not the second, probably Donaldson will be second in the game. I bet. But I bet Isaiah West will be in the game before Peoples, if I had to guess. He's just looked too good. And I think we're going to see, and I think he'll have more carries than CJ Donaldson in the game. So, you know, it's almost irrelevant who's second and who's third. Although I like a nice pecking order. I think if you're the backup, you should be the backup, period. But I get it, though. Running back, man, you want to keep these guys healthy. But I think we're going to see more Isaiah West. That's one thing that I didn't get to that I wanted to get to, but definitely wanted to get to the Knowles stuff and the right guard and the running game. Got to get the running game going because that's going to be important. As I keep saying, Buckeyes have to just assume. If it doesn't work out this way, great. They have to absolutely assume and prepare that it's going to be nasty weather in Ann Arbor on November 29th. Okay, 1 month from today. It's going to be nasty, nasty weather 1 month exactly from today. And if it's not, okay, then have Julian Sand go back there and carve them up. But you have to be ready for nasty weather and winning that game with the running game. Now, good luck to Michigan, the one-dimensional offense, moving the ball against this Ohio State defense. But I said the same thing last year. And the offense was so anemic and had the worst game plan ever that it didn't take much for Michigan. Michigan didn't do much. They weren't able to move the ball. Ohio State turned the ball over. They missed chip shot field goals. And the weather wasn't even bad last year. It had nothing to do with the weather. So prepare, find a way to, you know, have a competent running game. Not competent against these 4 teams that are going to play the next 4 weeks. The one they're going to play the 5th week, you know. 1 month from today. Get ready for that one. Okay. Yeah, you're going to be able to run the ball probably this week against Penn State. As Steve said, they're ranked in the bottom half of the country in run defense, 7 games in. Not an aberration. You're going to be able to run the ball at Purdue. You're going to be able to run the ball against UCLA and Rutgers. Rutgers has the worst defense in all of the Power 4 teams. Entire Power 4 Rutgers worst defense. So it might even look good these next 4 weeks. We won't know until November 29th, but get it going. Get some confidence going in these guys, offensive line, play calling, everything, running backs. And Bo Jackson and Isaiah West are the 2 guys that make people miss and break tackles. The data is the data. Those guys are making people miss at a high rate, breaking tackles, whereas CJ Donaldson, not so much. James Peoples, not so much. So very small sample size for James and really for Isaiah as well. But Isaiah looks like he is the real deal. So I want to see my true freshman. You wouldn't want true freshmen being your 1-2 at that position. This is the exception to that rule. Those guys are legit. And they're just clearly the 2 best running backs on the team, in my opinion, Bo Jackson and Isaiah West. One more thing. Julian Sand for Heisman is not getting enough talk. I saw something that had that straw poll on The Athletic. Their college football writers. Sand wasn't even mentioned. They had Fernando Mendoza. They had Diego Pavia, and they had Ty Simpson in the straw, and they didn't even have Julian Sand. And I'm like, do they not know Julian Sand right now has the second best odds to win, tied with Ty Simpson? Because it depends on where you look, like what app you're looking at. Julian Sand right now is tied with Ty Simpson as the second best chances to win the Heisman, and Mendoza's not that far ahead of them. I think Sayan's going to just continue to pile up good stats. And I'm not saying for sure he's going to win it, but the fact that he's not getting any buzz other than people in the know that are actually making betting lines on this, but that like he's not getting much buzz in the media, that's interesting to me. That's going to change. That's going to change. It wasn't that long ago, he was like, had like the 12th best odds or 10th. He was tied with Jeremiah Smith. Jeremiah's fallen back a little bit because, you know, Carnell Tate, what he's doing. You know, Jeremiah's obviously having a great year, but look for Julian Sayin, if not to win the Heisman. I think he's going to be in New York, no doubt about it. And I won't be surprised if he wins, especially a year like this where Fernando Mendoza is a good quarterback. I can't see him running away with the Heisman. We might have a situation in Indianapolis, 12-0 Ohio State, 12-0 Indiana, not only playing for the Big Ten title and the number 1 seed in the CFP, but playing for the Heisman winner. Because then the Heisman ceremony will be the very next week. Now, maybe a lot of the votes will be in by then, but if it's that close and Sayin outplays him in that game or vice versa, then you have to think that quarterback, if it was that close coming into that game, would then be your Heisman winner. So a lot going to be on the line in Indianapolis. Got to get there first, especially I think it's pretty clear Ohio State's going to get there, but they got to get there at 12-0. They got to win out. These next 4 games are against bad teams, and then you got to go and take care of business in Ann Arbor, and I think they will. All right. Thanks, guys. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. Thanks to Steve Helwagen. Great stuff from Steve. If you're not doing anything at 11:20-ish, 11:15, 11:20, I'm going to be on CBS HQ talking Ohio State, Penn State. So that's live on CBS HQ. It's a free streaming device. I think it'll be on CBS Sports Network as well. They typically are doing, you know, simulcast. So CBS HQ and probably CBS Sports Network right at 11:15 or 11:20 Eastern today. I'll be on there talking Ohio State, Penn State, and all things Ohio State football. All right. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Hope everyone has a great rest of your day. I know you're still basking. I love that. And go Bucks.